Welcome to Sportsbet Daily at oddsmarket.com. It's a quiet week, unless you're a tennis fan and you go to China. And it's the ATP Rolex Masters in Shanghai. The men for me when it comes to tennis is obviously Snize and James, or James and Snize. How are we, gentlemen?
Doing fine as always, thank you.
Look at you two. You two are so smug. You are on some kind of roll, by the way.
Thank you very much, Flash.
Well, that's why you're here. What about you, Snize? You didn't make it last time.
No, I had pledged my allegiances elsewhere, but now I'm back. I'm ready to roll. Nice week with the Shanghai Masters, a big tournament. And then after that, we can finally get out of Asia and get back to Europe and play some real tennis.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, James, it seems like we've been in Asia for yonks. I mean, they must have had like the last 6 tournaments over there.
Yeah, I mean, the Asian swing is actually relatively small, but obviously it feels for us Westerners quite long because you're trying to follow up on the play that was overnight and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll be gone pretty soon, so.
Yeah, so this ATP Rolex Masters, is this where the big guns come back out and they kick on? Snize?
I mean, historically, actually, no. For being an ATP Masters, actually quite a few of the big names that routinely miss out on it. And obviously, usually the Masters does the biggest tier below the Grand Slams with 1,000 points and a bunch of money on the line. But just this one in particular does have a lot of seeds missing. Notably, Nadal is missing due to allegedly a wrist injury. I don't actually think he's injured. I think he's just using it as an excuse to rest up a bit because he looked fine, and then all of a sudden he was just not being able to play at the Laver Cup. Nishikori's missing. And in general, tennis players don't like to play in Asia. They don't want to go here. They go here because they have to. And we've seen some crazy results because of that. But most of the big guns are here, including Novak Djokovic, of course, who is the firm favorite to take this home. And there are a lot of interesting angles to attack this tournament in.
James, I look at Djokovic. Is he 100% fit, do you think?
I think he looked pretty good last week. He certainly played himself into form. Whether he's 100% is tricky, given that he retired at the US Open. But I would bet that he'll be fit enough to play this week, yeah.
Snize, we'll have a little look straight away at the outright Rafa. Novak Djokovic outright, 2.35. I put it to you that if Djokovic is on song, he wins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Novak Djokovic is the best player in the world still. He is the world number one. He's won 2 out of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments this year, and obviously had to retire injured at the US Open. That shoulder seemed to be fine. He was playing as good as he's ever been in Tokyo, taking home that title in some style. And now Rafael Nadal is missing, yet still Djokovic's odds are actually longer than they usually are at these events. He's usually around evens or slightly above evens. And now with Rafael Nadal, who is the firm second favorite behind Djokovic, missing, this is fantastic value for him. He's been drawn into the upper half of the draw, obviously, with the big seeds being Gael Monfils, who lost to Hubert Hurkacz, Stefanos Tsitsipas, John Isner, and Daniil Medvedev, among others. But if Djokovic is on form, he's the best player in the world, and he actually, unlike many other players, loves to play in Asia. He performs really well here. He's the record holder with 4 titles to his name at this very event, and he won it last year. And he looks fit and firing, so there's no backing against Djokovic when he is.
James, another one we're going to go on to. Roberto, Bautista, Agut, each way at 34. Give us a little bit about Bautista.
Yeah, so Bautista, there's slight fitness concerns given that he retired last week with, I think, a stomach injury. But the thing is, when he's playing well, Bautista is one of the most consistent performers on tour. He makes most of his strides in the lower tier events, so sort of 500 to 250s, but Shanghai happens to be an event where he's played very, very well in the past. And my feeling from watching him is that basically he gets that extra bit of pace out of his shots on these courts. He likes the low bounce. He's a very flat hitter most of his game is based on movement and consistency. So in quick conditions, they really, really help because you basically are able to absorb a lot more pace and get more out of your counterpunching than you would usually. So yeah, he's gone very well here in the past. He's beat Djokovic here in the past, in fact. And he's easily in the weakest quarter of the tournament. And the key thing here for me is that he's in the same quarter as Thiem. And I think opposing Thiem is a very, very obvious thing to do in general on hard courts, but especially given that he's just won in Beijing, very different conditions. I would very much expect Bautista to sort of be able to take time away from him in these conditions. And yeah, so I think to me, he was the most obvious play from a sort of context perspective, the big issue being his fitness. But I think if he is fit, then he's very likely to come through that quarter.
Okay, Snize. Matteo Berrettini, we've had him a few times this year, each way at 51. I mean, I think that price may have gone.
Yeah, that may have gone. It was actually even higher at start of the week. You follow me on Twitter at Snize, so I tipped this at 67. I think it was Saturday.
I didn't get that memo.
But still a nice price available at him right now. Currently, I snagged this 51 earlier today. So if we're looking at a draw here, as I broke down earlier, Djokovic is the clear favorite. You don't really want to pick anyone else in his half because that'd be pretty almost suicidal. It's very tough seeing him losing unless he's injured. But in the bottom half, we have a lot of value to be found. As James mentioned, we have a big seed, Dominic Thiem, who just won a title in Beijing, and Berrettini has been drawn in that quarter, and he looked pretty good. One could say he destroyed Jan-Lennard Struff 6-2, 6-1 in his first round. Has a very big hitting game, obviously made it all the way to the semifinals of the US Open this year, and he's proven himself very dangerous in fast conditions. Won the title in, I believe it was Stuttgart. He didn't even drop a set. I think he wasn't even broken. All straight set victories. So obviously enjoys his conditions, and his big hitting game should suit him well here. So he's one of my selections to try to get a big priced finalist.
So you can still get him at 51 with Betfair and Unibet. So I would definitely jump on that.
Okay. There's a name that we got involved with over the last couple of weeks. Nicolas Basilashvili, each way at 101. Is he in the bottom half as well, James?
Yeah, so he is. So again, this is an interesting point about odds. He's actually 40-1 with most bookies, 50-1 with some, but then you can get 80-1 with SpreadX. So that's a nice standout price that's worth taking. So Basil is the kind of player who there's a lot of reasons to think he's a good player to bet on outright. So the first thing is he's a streaky player. He'll often play well and then continue to play well, or play badly and continue to play badly. So if you catch him with a nice price early on in the tournament, he'll probably do you well in the later rounds. His game is shot making based, so he hits the ball very, very sort of powerfully, but also he just likes to hit winners a lot. He likes to find the corners, find the lines, and these conditions are pretty fast. They should help him with that. He's gone well here before. He's looked pretty good so far this week, and he's been excellent to bet on generally. He's already won Hamburg this year, where we actually tipped him to win that again with the same logic. He won Beijing last year, where he beat Del Potro, and the kind of quality of the field in that event wasn't that far off this event, even though it was a lower tier event. So yeah, he's got all the weapons to go deep, and again, he's in that weaker bottom quarter. So I think if he is able to play his best tennis, he will certainly take advantage if Berrettini and Bautista don't.
Snize, I look at Andrey Rublev, and you've got him each way at 81. That seems awfully high.
Yeah, it was even higher earlier, actually. But again, this has just been the plan with, obviously, Djokovic being the huge favorite in the top half. We're really just trying to get a big priced finalist, and I think there are definitely opportunities for us to get that. Obviously, Roger Federer is the big second favorite in the bottom half. He is, though, pretty old right now. He's 38. He's slowing down. He has been proven to be vulnerable at this tournament before, being knocked out at earlier stages. We've seen a couple of upsets come his way in this tournament. He lost, I think Coric was a finalist in this tournament, and also Bautista Agut, a big prize finalist in this tournament. And so Rublev, he's a big hitting Russian. He's been in great form as of late. Really flourished into the talent that we knew he could be, but he's been beset a bit by injuries after his breakthrough a few years ago. He actually beat Federer a few weeks back in Cincinnati, and he's looked very strong. These fast conditions really suit his big hitting game. He loves dictating play, getting his huge forehand into play. Went well at the US Open, and he's been drawn in the bottom quarter. Alexander Zverev is the big seed there apart from Federer. And Zverev, though he did look a bit better in Beijing, his old nemesis of double faults and making spectacular errors and choking badly are still very much prevalent. So it makes great sense there to take Rublev at a big price down there.
Okay, so we can see the way we're going. We're going Djokovic top half, 2.35 overall. And then we've got 4 that are going to be massive prices just to really get the finalist out of that situation, which is great. But we need some individual bets, James. And you've gone for Isner Pouille, first set tie at 2.4.
Yeah, so the write-up for this bet will be on the site soon. But in summary, basically Isner is one of the most serve-orientated players on tour. He's very uniquely serve-orientated in that there's only about, I think, 3 players who are as tall as him or taller. He's 6'10". He's held, I think, 93.4% over the last year, broken about 8.7%. So it's a very, very clear bias towards holding serve. His whole game is based around basically getting a nice first shot after his serve. So on return, he's really just taking any chances he can get. And against top quality opposition, you don't get many. So Pouille is, I think, 24 in the world. He can be a bit flaky, but fundamentally he is far superior to Isner from the baseline and really should be a comfortable favorite from the baseline. But if you look at him statistically, again, he's quite serve-orientated. He's, I think it was something like 83% holds, 17% breaks over the last year. So that, again, he's a good candidate for this bet. And Isner generally, when he's playing as the slight favorite, so 1.5 to evens, he's played a first set tiebreak in 32 of his last 50 matches. And that would put this at 1.6. So obviously at 2.4, we're getting huge value if that's indicative. Shanghai, one of the quickest events on tour, has 9% more tiebreaks than the average tournament on hard courts. So again, excellent conditions for the bet. And I would fully expect it to be something like 1.8, maybe evens.
Yeah, we like that. 1.66, 66% chance. And yet you're getting 2.4. So you sniffed out the value there, James. Snize, Khachanov and Rublev on the money line at 2.22. Reasons, please.
Yes, I'm going with a bit of a Russian parlay here. Khachanov hasn't really been good for most of the season. He's been making some experiments with his equipment and really have found wins hard to come by. But he really looked great last week in Beijing, I thought. He took Team, the eventual winner, to 3 tough sets. He had ample opportunity to even close that match out and looked really impressive. Fritz, he's going to face, is a talented young American, but he hasn't really been in form for quite some time now. He's lost 4 out of his last 5 main draw matches. Khachanov is the much more talented player, and now when he's looking to find some form, I expect him to have a big run at this time of year, just like he did last year. So I'll parlay him with Andrey Rublev, who's going to face John Millman from Australia. And Millman had a great run just recently. He made a Tokyo final as a qualifier. But that means he played 7 matches in just 9 days and then had to travel here. Very, very short turnaround. And I expected him to lose to Pella in the first round. But he actually managed to prevail. So after failing to defend his quarterfinal opponent in the US Open, there was pressure on him. And I thought that he might be caught a bit short there, but he came through. But still, he's a player that bases most of his game on counterpunching, outlasting his opponents from the baseline, and with some tired legs, that will be difficult. Furthermore, this is a difficult matchup for him because Rublev is very happy to face opponents that don't generate much pace on their own and are happy to sit back. This is a similar matchup as to that one he has in Choric, who's also happy to sit back and counterpunch and defend, which is placed perfectly to Rublev's game because he likes to step in and dictate play, and that's exactly what he'll get here again. And I just think that he'll take care of Millman in this one. Some fatigue, and he's just straight up better.
Okay, in summary, boys, I'll come to you first, James. Djokovic, how many times out of 10 does he win this tournament?
So I mean, it's kind of tricky to call again with stuff like fitness and all that. But overall, if you played this out 1,000 times, I'm certainly expecting him to win at least 50% of them.
Okay, that brings you over even money. Snize, Djokovic for you?
Yeah, I'll go right ahead with that. Say like 50-60% of the time he should be winning this tournament.
Okay, that's good enough. Okay, then, well, let's move on, gentlemen. We're going to stay in China. We're going to go to the women. WTA Tianjin. We're going to tell me a little bit, James, about this tournament, first of all. And are any of the big guns there?
So this tournament is basically it's one of the slower tournaments in China. And Kenin was heading the tournament. She's withdrawn, and you've now got Yastremska, who is the betting favorite for the tournament. So it's probably what I would call a moderately open event, but the difficulty is always, even if you don't have the very top of the field there, it's really more about, do you have viable underdogs to pick and kind of viable people to take the top of the field on with? Because if you don't, sometimes it can actually make sense to take someone from right at the top of the field, like Yastremska, and basically hope that they're able to play professionally enough for the week to take advantage of the weak field.
Snize, I look at it and it says Diana Yaremstremka at 7.
So this is, if you read my article at oddsmarket.com, I tipped this Saturday. Kenin was originally part of my bets, but obviously she withdrew after winning the doubles title. Diana Yastremska is a young Ukrainian teenager who's just been on a meteoric rise up the rankings over the last couple of years, has a really huge hitting game off both wings. She's supremely confident, and on her day she can take down any player. Her weakness is really that with a power hitter often comes unforced errors, so when she's not firing at her best, troubles can come. But she's looked really good as of late. Obviously has made a couple of few good runs, took down Karolina Pliskova recently, and she's had a fantastic season here. And if we look at this draw here, in the bottom half, we have Zai Zheng as the big seed and in her quarter there, and she had a bit of a trouble against Duan Yingying. Should have actually lost in that first round. But I just think that this draw is pretty soft in general, and Diana Yastremska is one to take advantage.
Okay, James. Magdalena outright at 21, a bit different to Yastremska at 7.
Yeah, so she's 11. But I think this is one that I considered in the bottom half. Again, the difficulty is who you're wanting to take on in the event, who you're actually wanting to oppose. And I think with someone like Lynette, she's the kind of player that's going to give you a lot of value for your money generally. She's going to work hard. She's going to keep playing, kind of her best tennis generally through tournaments. She's going to be grinding out wins. But she doesn't always have what it takes against the top opposition. So I actually steered this one in the end. I considered it at 11 now as a sort of slight underdog option in the bottom half. But yeah, I wasn't certain enough of the value.
James, why is she 11 now and she was 21? Is it because of the, was it Kenin came out?
Yeah, I mean, I think she was 21 last round. This round, she's down to 11 because obviously she's got through a couple of rounds as well.
Okay. Well, here's one that you're both in agreement with. Snize, I'll start with you. Rebecca Peterson outright at 9. Is she still 9?
I'll have a look. She should still be 9. She hasn't played yet. We'll see.
Yeah, she's 9. Yeah.
8. Yeah, 9 and 8, depending on where you get it. So yeah, Rebecca Peterson, she was, if you read my article, she was one of the names that I headlined there and I had circled. It was either her or Kenin in that top half of the draw. The Swede has had a career year. She surged to world number 52 in the rankings after winning notably Nanshang here in China a couple of weeks ago. And she has a really solid game, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, moves well, hits well off both wings, and just overall a very, very solid player. Full of confidence right now. She came through a tough opener against Venus Williams, who's been actually playing some rejuvenated tennis as of late. So that was a very impressive win. And now with Sofia Kenin being out in this top half, it's completely wide open. Carolina Garcia, she's last year's champion, but she's been woeful for almost the entire year, and she hasn't been the same player. Yulia Putintseva came through an almighty struggle. Probably should have lost to Astra Sharma, who served for the match, and Putintseva might be a big seed to oppose. And apart from that, we have Xiyu Wang, Chinese youngster. She's really impressive. We have Ons Jabeur. But in general, just not that many strong players. I would definitely expect Peterson to make the final here if she can get through Garcia, assuming she gets there, and have a great chance at winning this title.
Okay, well, let's have a quick look at the individual that you both, and this is a massive pointer, that when they both agree with the same bet. James, Peterson -4.5 at 1.66 to beat Wang.
Yeah, so a lot of things go into this one. As Snize said, Peterson, very sort of solid player who's had a very good year. She won her maiden main level title, so non-ITF title, just a few weeks ago at the beginning of September in Nanchang. So she's in good form. She does sometimes struggle against top quality opposition, but she's particularly good when she's the favorite because she has very, very good mental consistency. She's won 41 of her last 50 as the favorite, and you would have actually netted a 19% return if you'd backed her in every one of those matches, which is very impressive at those kind of odds. And in essence, I think she's the kind of player who will make the youngster work. I mean, Wang is a talented youngster. She's 18. She's got a lot of potential. I think she won both the Australian Open and the French Open juniors. But basically, she's not been able to bring that onto the main tour. She's 0 for 7 against the top 100. And in 6 of those matches, the handicap would have won or been void because she retired in one of the matches. So far, she hasn't really shown any ability to test someone like Peterson. Last week, she lost to Yafan Wang 1 and 2, which again is kind of like, it's the kind of loss where it very much indicates the level she's able to play at. This week, she lost in qualies, again, quite comfortably priced as the favorite, in fact, and then basically got given a lucky loser spot. So she's been quite lucky to make it into the main draw. As Snize said, Peterson had an excellent win in the first round over Venus Williams, who has been playing very well, and she looked very comfortable in that match. She was basically, I would argue, she was definitely the better player from the back of the court. And if she's the better player against Venus, I would be very surprised if she wasn't able to dominate against Wang. So yeah, we've taken the -4.5 games at 1.66 with Bet365.
Yeah, the big thing for me is I asked you to put one up and you both put up the same bet. That's an indication straight away, jump all over that 1.66. Okay, boys, well, we've done the men, we've done the women. Go over to oddsmarket.com if you want to see the lads' articles. They're coming thick and fast. We'll speak in a few days and we'll see how our outrights get on, gentlemen.
Great. Cheers, Flash.
Sounds like a plan. Cheers.
Hey, good luck, lads, and keep up the great work. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Bye.
That's James and Snize going through the ATP and WTA events in China and Jingzhang. Now we're going to go off to the other side of the world. We're off to America. It's the Houston Open on the back of our little mate Kevin Na winning for Craig Edwards. Craig, how are you, sir?
Nice to get a nice price
Rafa,
winner.
I can't hear Craig. I'll go on, mate.
It's been a few months since we've had a nice price winner. I think Jim Fury's last one at 90. And Kevin now is at 81 in places. And Well, we liked him a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Flash? And I was pleased I stuck with him, even though he'd missed the cut. But you've always got to consider him in Vegas. He lives there. He's won it before, placed before, and I think he's one of them players that he's getting older and he's just become more comfortable with himself. And even down the stretch, he had a triple bogey. He bogeyed the par 5, and he still managed to actually make a 15-footer to stay in it at one point. And he just outstayed Cantlay, really. And Cantlay's a really good, reliable animal, but he's probably not as comfortable winning tournaments as Kevin now.
Totally. I mean, the biggest word was comfortable. I'm so pleased that you stuck with him, because we said a few weeks ago that he now thinks that he belongs. He's got that relationship with the big guns who go there and win tournaments. I saw that Patrick Cantlay, I think halfway through or at the end of day 2, he was like 2.75, and I'm thinking, I can't have him on this golf course. I cannot have him, because somebody somewhere is going to come along. The other thing I noticed was Phil Mickelson. Looking trim, looking fit, can't see and put the 4 rounds together.
No, it's bizarre. It's either going to snap shortly and he'll have an Indian summer in his career, or he's going to start. His confidence going to start to wane a little bit. Like you say, Flash, he's looking after himself, and so I'm a massive Mickelson fan, I've got to say, and it might just be the smallest tweak, and he'll be going again. So
the biggest thing I noticed, Craig, was we know Mickelson from old. We know his whole career. He'll get up and down from anywhere. Round 2, anywhere around the green, failed to get up and down maybe 50-60% of the time, and I just felt he's now trying to hit the ball too hard. I mean, he's hardly hitting fairways. He opens up, I think, with like a 6 under par round, and you think, well, go on then, go and push. His push is too early.
Yeah, I don't understand all this need to keep up. It's almost like this fitness thing has totally lost his focus on actually doing what he's good at. And I mean, like you said, Flash, round the green, there's no one with a greater touch and everything. So all the working out in the world, actually, if you think about it, is not necessarily good for your touch with putting and chipping. So you do have to strike a balance.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And this has happened to a couple of the other players over the years that have gone on this fitness one. I think Darren Clark was one of those that he used to be really good chipping and putting around the greens. And it's almost as if their whole actions change, because there's no belly to get in the way, so they might come down a bit more shallow or a bit more on the inside. But whenever Mickelson was around the greens, I fancied up and down, no problem. But this week, he just really, really struggled. Let's crack on to this Houston Open. If the wind blows, there's a definite favourites. There's favourites to be had.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Henrik Stenson's favourite. He has got an impressive bank of form here. He's never won, and it's getting on for 3 years since he's won an event. So he is in good form. I mean, when I looked at his stats, he's still number 34 in the world. He was third a few weeks ago in the Scandinavian, then he showed up well in the PGA. He's a solid favourite in what is a weak event. I didn't know it was going to pan out to be quite this weak a few weeks ago, when I first looked at it. So, and then you've got behind him, I mean, I've got to be honest, I don't like Brian Herman. I think he's third in the betting. He's got no form here whatsoever. I don't understand that sort of price for Brian Herman. I think you just got to look. Don't overcomplicate this week and look at Russell Henley. 5 top 10s on the trot here. Once the winner. Played well in Vegas last week. That was the noticeable thing. He's been, apart from a second at the John Deere in July, he's been pretty lackluster for him. And to see him play well last week. And Houston Open, they've changed the slot. So it used to come before the Masters, and now it's gone to the fall. And it's we don't quite know what's going to happen. But actually, to see Henley coming in here in good form, it gives you pretty much. I feel like it's a bet to nothing. Get as many places as you can and just load it up. Really.
Ball striker Craig, everyone's favourite ball striker, Russell Henley, always there or thereabouts. Farms, absolutely farms, weaker events where the top 20 in the world are not present. Austin Cook is another one, 101 to 1, so just the hundreds. Always, for me, when he gets there, just doesn't, that putter just fouls him.
It does. I'm going on one of my kind of things where I believe in endorphins, and it's kind of your biorhythms. If you relax a little bit, become more in tune. And at golf and snooker, it's a massive thing. I mean, you went there about Phil Mickelson and soft hands, put in and chip in. That means you're slightly more relaxed. Well, when he had no tour card, he played the Monday qualifier here 4 years ago, and he qualified, and he actually took the 54-hole lead into the final round, and he shot a 75 to finish 11th, which was understandable. Inexperience. He's looking at $1 million when he's got no money in the bank. It's too much. He then went on to win the RSM Classic on the PGA Tour. Like you say, Flash, he does flatter to deceive, definitely. But this is the first time he's been back to Houston for this event, which I find amazing. You'd think he'd have come back here before. Maybe he couldn't get in because on the slot it was before the Masters, so everyone's trying to get all the big guns used to play. So I've taken that kind of tentative form line and thinking he's got all them good memories, and he should be a more complete player in his mind now this time.
Yeah, there's two things I noticed about this. Obviously, in the schedule, it used to be early part of the year, and the Europeans used to like either win it or they'd all be up there because they were all getting themselves ready for that. It used to be Sawgrass, Houston, and then obviously we go to Augusta. Now, all of a sudden, it's at the back end of the year where the Europeans are not so much. You're probably going to have, Russell Laird, maybe, I think Tom Lewis is in there. But I think you have to look at just the Americans this week. Let's go on. Zach Blair, 150 to 1.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago at Safeway Open, he started with 75, and he actually ended up finishing fourth. The last 3 rounds, he was the best player. And the last 3 or 4 months, there's been a real change in him. He's suddenly found a level of consistency. I think he's had 7 top 11 finishes on both tours, on the Corn Ferry and now here. And what's noticeable was that last year, well, it would be in the April, so it's going back best part of 18 months now. He managed a top 10 finish here when he wasn't the player he was now. And got to forgive him a bad week last week. But we did that with Kevin now, and the price really forgives him any case, because this time of year you're looking for maiden winners, you're looking for new winners on the PGA Tour. All the old boys, they've had a long year, they're getting ready for Christmas and what have you, they're probably just picking a few checks up. I've got a feeling this lad's turned a real corner in this game, very similar to the lad you just mentioned, Tom Lewis last year. Tom Lewis suddenly turned a massive corner and became such a consistent player for the last 3 or 4 months of the year. And I've got a feeling that this lad's a similar profile.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's the big thing about the European boys when they come over at this time of year is they need that one good week. It gets them, I mean, was it not Poulter? Poulter was struggling, wasn't going to get his card. Yeah. Got an invite, 1 2-year exemption. You're like, wow, all of a sudden your schedule is planned out for you. Sam Ryder's your next one at 51.
Yeah, his best tournament on the PGA Tour was last time here, and last week he was superb. I mean, if you take away his last round, that's the one worry. He was in contention and he shot over par at Summerlin, which is not a good round because the scoring was very low last week. Yes, the final round, the scoring average was a bit higher, but I think he went around at 75. But He's coming here, you know he's playing well, and this is a weak event. He just looks an obvious form pick and current form pick, really.
Well, your next one is someone that I've had in my bag so many times. Kevin Chappell wants to speak to his caddy for about 25 minutes between shots. Can go as low as anybody on tour. And all of a sudden, he just blows up. I don't know if he blows up mentally, physically, but at 80 to 1 in this field, he has got to give you a run for your money.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, he's been out most of the season. He had a back injury and he's had surgery, so he's had 10 months off. But prior to that, Flash, like you say, he competed in US Opens, Players' Championships, high-class player. The interesting fact is the one PGA tournament he's won is in Texas, at the Valero Texas Open, where he has an impressive bank of form. He's had one good performance here in the past. He came back at Greenbrier, I believe, and his third round, he shot 59, his first tournament back for 10 months. So we've got to believe he retains the ability. Last week was a 40th position. I think he finished 40th. Well, Summerlin probably wouldn't have suited him because it's a very low-scoring course, putting competition. If you go back to what I mentioned there, he's competed in US Opens, in Players' Championships, and he plays better when the course is a little bit tougher. So he's got everything, really. And the other thing is, he's got to re-establish himself on the PGA Tour now. He's had so much time off that he's going to be keen, he's going to be fresh, he's not mentally wiped out from a long season. He's almost like a rookie again. So, and to, you know, in a way, he's down in grade playing this tournament to the tournaments he was competing in before. So you could, you know, and like you say, Flash, you can blow up, but at 80 to 1, I thought we could take that chance.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the bigger chance, and people, if they're obviously just getting involved in golf betting, he's the type of player that could be 6 shots back on Sunday and shoot the lights out. He loves to get a roll. And, I mean, he is one of those that will go 62, 74, 68, 64. He's a birdie machine when he gets running. Streaky, just loves to chat to his caddy for too long for me. I'm like, he'll get himself in the top 2 or 3 and have that lovely rhythm, and all of a sudden they start overcomplicating it and going through it, and I'm like, will you just play the shots that you've played for the last 58 holes? It's like, EA frustrates me. Okay, I haven't got the graphic up for this next one because it's my one that I like to give you. I thought you might have gone for him, to be honest. 3 top 15 finishes here. Keegan Bradley, 40 to 1. So there's my little one for you on the outrights. And we're going to move on to the place markets. Cameron Tringale, top 10 at 6.5. He's another one that when he gets the ball rolling, he's hard to dislodge.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, I like Keegan Bradley. He's very close to being picked, usually not far off. Cameron Tringale, if you go back a few years here, every year he was in the top 10 and he was always in contention. Well, since June, again, he's another player where his stats have improved out of all recognition, and it's almost like his putting's letting him down so much. His stats are suggesting he should be even higher. I don't really want him to win. I can't see him winning at 50 to 1 for a guy that's never won on the PGA Tour. I don't think we can take it, but he's a solid look for a top 10 finish this week, definitely.
Okay, moving on. Jim Herman, top 20 at 10.
Yeah, Jim Herman, well, this guy's wacky. His 2 tournaments, he's both put them down to playing with Donald Trump. And he was the assistant professional at one of Trump's courses. They played together just before he won. It's only a couple of months ago at the Barbasol Championship. They played together and Trump gave him a putting tip, which is wacky enough that he's listened to his president. He's been a good lad, and he's then gone and won the Barbasol Championship. Wind it back a few years here, he was champion here out of nowhere, 500 to 1. again, he played a practice round with Donald Trump a few days prior. Now, if only we knew he's played again, we might be able to get stuck in. But he's an inconsistent sort. I wouldn't put anyone off having a little bit of 250 to 1 each way. But mainly we'll go for the top 20 finish because he's also got he's got a little bit of consistent form here, which is unusual for Jim Herman because he is a really inconsistent sort of player. But he likes the course, and at the price, it's an easy bet.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say about him, it's all about belief. He might also be an in-play bet, that if he looks comfortable and he gets himself rolling, then he's one of those that probably won't go away because he probably doesn't actually know what's going on around him. He is one of those types of players, late on the scene, just happy to be there. Next one, Chris Stroud at top 20 at 7.
Yeah, Texas resident. So it's basically his home tournament. He played well last week. He just fell down the leaderboard on the last day. It's only like 3 starts ago. He had a top 10 and top 20. He's a horse for course, man. You know, you won't get him on a course where the bombers are dictating or a big event. But this week, he looks primed for just a solid top 20 finish in his home state. And he can sleep in his own bed and travel to the venue, and it looks an obvious bet for me.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. A lot of the players have been brought up around this area on these courses. I mentioned it right at the top of the show. If the wind blows, get on your local golfers because there is a massive, massive advantage to be had. This is a big one. Top 5, Zach Sucher at 51.
Yeah. He's been playing all the minor tours, then the Corn Ferry Tour for years, and he's at the Travellers Championship. He got a start on the main tour, and he finished second to Chad Greavy. He was leading. He probably feels like he should have won, but anyhow, he won a lot of money, and he's kind of changed the direction of his career now. What's been noticeable these first 2 weeks of the new season is how well he's played, and his stats suggest he should have finished higher. He's the sort of player that will either finish high up or miss the cut. So I've gone for the top 5 finish at 51, which, for small stakes, he could well give us a good run in that market this week. And on the minor tours, when you look through some of his results, he has some of his best performances in Texas. So again, we've gone for that. Like you said, Flash, it can be windy and stuff, and you're looking for players that have got that bit of experience, really.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this is one of those courses. Again, it is a little bit different. We've got to take into account that it's 4 or 5 months after its normal schedule because it's all spun round. But I always looked at this and thought, I want players that maybe a little bit lower ball flight, a little bit like they can shape it both ways, hang it up, hold it up. So for me, any of those boys that have got experience around the sort of geographical area, then they definitely have a chance. Last one for you, Sean Stefani, top 40 at 4.
Yeah, a journeyman professional. There's not really many highlights to his career for us to focus on, but what we can focus on is he's quite good at earning his checks, and he has got a 5th or 6th place finish here. He's got a few other top 30s, top 40s here, and he's in reasonable form, coming off similar top 30s, top 40s. That's what Sean Stefani is about. And I noticed the 3-1 with Paddy Power this week. I thought it must be he must be just slightly over even money for me to get a top 40 finish. So it's just a simple bet, really.
Yeah, I wrote down walking ATM. Maybe a poor man's Charles Howell III. That not really doesn't really win, but always cashes in that top 20 region. Always there or thereabouts, maybe 3 or 4, 5 shots short, but never in doubt of picking up your money. Okay, I gave you Keegan Bradley outright at 40 to 1. You've gone through your place markets. I'm going with Keegan Bradley again. Top 20 at 3.4.
Yeah, I'd rather have him in the place markets for me, Keegan Bradley. He can be a bit frustrating when he hits the front. Yeah, he's quite a similar frustrating character to the one I picked, Chappell.
No, exactly. No, totally.
Watch him play, and he's overcomplicating. When he came on the scene and won the US PGA, but he's gone away from playing natural game. But the one thing he has flashed, he plays well in Houston in this tournament, and like you say, he'll have the experience if the winds blow. And the place market has a real solid look for Keegan Bradley in what is a weak tournament.
Yeah, and if the wind blows, the putting style, wider stance, double grip, may just give him a couple of shots over the 4 rounds. I liken him a little bit to Webb Simpson, although Webb's kicked on. And the thing is with Keegan, he's a bit of a nut. He can fly along, but then all of a sudden, a bit like Rory, he has that Tigger walk. Well, Keegan has the opposite. He goes all sideways, and his rhythm goes, and then he cuts the ball 80 yards right, and he double crosses himself left. But listen, get back to your caviar, your champagne, on the back of our little friend Kevin Na. I'm glad you didn't desert him after us having a good chat about him 2 weeks ago. And let's hope one of these big guns come in for us.
Yeah, absolutely, Flash. Been great talking as always.
Hey, I look forward to it. Keep up the great work. And it's snooker season soon. Get over to oddsmarket.com. Craig will talk everything snooker, everything golf. And if you follow him, you're going to be in the caviar and champagne, just like Craig. See you soon, mate.
Yeah, see you soon, Flash. Take care.
You take care. So that's Craig Edwards going through golf. He's our snooker man as well. Have a look at Snize and James's articles on oddsmarket.com. They're on the WTA and ATP in China. Tomorrow, it's going to be a quiet day. But Thursday, the UFC boys are back. And we have 2020 Euro qualifiers at the back end of the week. Until then, you take care.